All right, welcome everyone to the third episode of Growth Talk. I'm here with Jono today, and we're going to talk about his growth journey and his relation to OP, and a bit about its type, and whatever else we decide to talk about. So, welcome, Jono. How's it going, man?
Awesome. It's going great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, same,
Excited to
same.
blast last, just rant and just go in weird directions and talk about whatever the heck comes up.
That is the plan, or lack
Good.
thereof. Yeah, man. Yeah, so I wanted you to go on the show because I feel like you have been working on your demons a lot. Like you have the Blast Last group. I've seen you
Oh,
organize
wow.
quite a few different things, and you've been working on your systems and getting, yeah, working on your organization a lot. So I thought, okay, Jonah would be a good candidate for this. I think he's been around for a while. He's had a lot of experience, and yeah, so I thought you'd be an excellent choice for the show. So that's why I invited you. If you needed some reasons, I've got them
Well,
for you.
thank you. That's a great compliment, actually. That I'm being noticed for doing my demons. That's actually pretty
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, that is like a big compliment, right? If someone's like, Dave, I couldn't help but notice that you've been really nice to people and you've been really FEing. Like, really? Oh,
Yeah,
it's so flattering.
exactly. That's cool.
Absolutely. So, to start us off, maybe we could just talk about your type a little bit. So, people who aren't too familiar with ENFPs, we could maybe start out with like, what would you give as like a general description of maybe what an ENFP likes? If somebody was wanting to learn what that personality is type, what's kind of the gist of this type, would you say?
Yeah, I think an ENFP is kind of chaotic in the sense that they are just very distracted by things that are going on around them. They kind of dive into things that are a little bit left of center from like what's the norm. So an example is like maybe some of the artwork on the wall behind you, like abstract art or like even objective personality, like just diving into that, like kind of figuring out having a look at it, just getting all into that kind of stuff. um, uh, Psychedelics, maybe they like, that's kind of stereotypical of an ENFP to get into.
Sure.
But yeah, and I guess like not to kind of, big note myself or really like sound up myself or anything, but NFPs, from what I've seen, have been known to be like, quite friendly and just can kind of get along with everyone.
Yeah.
And that's something I've noticed. That's like a pattern I've noticed in myself is that like I've had a lot of friends throughout my whole history of life, and I haven't really had any enemies. Like, and I don't know, I'm just very welcoming of people, and I guess that's kind of a strength. Let's talk about weaknesses. Um, Being organized is definitely a struggle, and that can like be in terms of like having their life structured or just having the things around them organized.
Okay.
So, an example is like kind of not really having any direction um, of kind of what they want for the future. They just kind of live in the moment and just kind of do things as I guess, their FI leads them. And they're not really grounded in the sense of like, okay, I'm going to work on this idea and I'm going to keep building at it. I'm going to make it into something bigger. So it's then, going to have an impact on people. That's a challenge.
Okay.
Um, Another challenge, another weakness with organization is just like having like things organized, like like getting bills and stuff coming in, and just organizing paperwork, organizing like important events that you have, planning events. Or crap, someone's birthdays come up, I have to buy them a present. Like just yeah, stuff
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
like
Yeah. That
that.
was good description. You gave the positives and kind of the negatives there, right?
Yeah, I had to balance it out. I don't want to be too egotistical there.
Yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, I definitely agree with ENFPs being people that can get along with just about anyone. Like I have one of my best friends is an ENFP, and another really close friend in Berlin is also ENFPs.
Nice.
And the thing is, like they're almost like they're very comfortable with you being different than them. And an ISTP is about as different as it gets almost with to an ENFP, but they're comfortable with me being different, and they're not like I don't feel like they're projecting things onto me like some other types would, which I think is cool.
Okay.
But they also find it, I think, interesting in a way that I am so different. They don't take that as like an affront almost. You know what I mean? So I feel like
Yeah.
ENFPs tend to be very accepting.
Yeah, and I think like what I really value when people are comfortable in like being different or just
Mm.
expressing themselves and not feeling like they have to suppress it under like a mask or just because it pleases everyone. Or if someone has a talent or something like they're working like a hobby, like I get really excited when they're putting time into that and trying to do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's almost like you guys have, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you guys have almost have more respect for people who do that. They're just unapologetically themselves, and they're willing to kind of put themselves out there, even if it
Yeah.
might not be so normal, I guess, or a bit weird.
Yeah, that's true. Like, it definitely would, I think I would respect someone if they're doing stuff that's, I guess for us, it's like they're being genuine because they're doing something they like. They're doing something which is, maybe a little bit confrontational. Um, I don't know, there's just a lot of respect there because it's like, well, they're being genuine, which
Yeah,
is very FI, but
maybe that's why I see you guys poke fun at people so much. Like you guys are definitely the jokesters of the group and pointing things out. And sometimes it's kind of just on the line where it's like, oh, this is, I mean, this is hilarious, but I feel like this is going to piss somebody off.
yeah, like definitely have been in trouble for like pointing some things out and people like, but there's definitely an element of self-amusement there. Like, just, oh, look at this guy, he's doing this thing, and he's trying to be different, and well, it can get what's the word? It can get risky, or not risky, but like skating on thin ice type of thing.
Sure. My favorite thing that you did was the meme about being mistyped, and it had the SC and the Illuminati on Dave's face, and that was
Uh,
so good.
Man, I had so much fun making that meme. Like, you don't know, like, I was at my computer just being like, oh my gosh, I was laughing as I was making it. Like,
That's when you know it's
this
good.
is going to be so funny. People are going to get pissed off. People are going to love this. People are going to hate it. I'm like, all right, I need to, like, just put it out there.
It's
Yeah.
funny because there's some truth to it as well. That's what makes it really hit home, I think, because it's like, well, this is a pattern that people have been noticing. Yeah, not to shit on the EPs too much, but like it is, they're flipping tables a lot. What it seems like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
Creating
you
chaos.
you mentioned that you struggle with organizing, like, I guess, physical things, which is like, yeah, kind of an SI thing. Do you struggle with like future plans, or more like the NI style of planning, or does that come more natural for someone with any?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, like, definitely throughout my life, I've definitely struggled with having like an NI master plan, only because, like, with NE, it's so annoying because, like, you can envision like all these possible scenarios, like all these things that I like, I can then, like, kind of see where they could lead to in the future. And the problem is that because, like, and NE just loves like changing. It loves like doing this thing over here. Oh, quick! I don't want to do. Now I want to spend time on this thing. Then I want to do this thing. It's like you spend so much time just jumping through all these different things that you don't actually make any progress anywhere. And that's something that I've had to learn like more recently. And thanks to OP for pointing it out to me. Um, is that, like, like, I get involved in too many things. Like, I'm just diving into like new like hobbies, like new groups, like, social groups, Facebook groups, um, messaging groups. Like, I'm learning like instruments. Like, I got these new video games that come out. Like, there's all these cool like things on Netflix I want to watch. I've got a full-time job, but like I'm trying to build that as well. And there's just so many like things that I just end up like basically stressing myself out because I'm trying to do too much at once. So
Sure.
it's only like literally these last few months that I've been like, okay, I really need to just cut some stuff out and just focus on like bare minimum, because otherwise I'm not going to like actually, in 10 years, I'm not actually going to be able to look back and go, wow, I actually created something, or I did something with that.
Sure.
So I'm now trying to like align myself to something, like to a couple of things where I can be like, all right, now this is the kind of direction I want to take.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
I forgot
I
what
feel
the
like
question
that.
was. Did I answer it?
Yeah. No. Totally. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Um, I feel like this also kind of makes you guys very well rounded in a way, because you're constantly jumping from this, and you're learning about this, and you're learning about that, and it makes you guys very easily adaptable to just about anything. Because
No,
you're
that
building
is,
like
yeah,
these like sort of meta skills, right? Because all of these things that you're interested in all have something in common, right? They're all blah blah blah, and you can take something you learned while playing the guitar and apply that to learning
100%.
boxing or something like that. You can, so it's like once you guys actually do get focused and have something, you guys usually knock it out of the park, right? It's just having
Yeah,
to actually sit there and, flesh that thing out, which is not easy, right? Especially if I mean, your whole life's been about jumping. It's going to be hard to learn how to, just to run instead of jump, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see how like, being able to be involved in like a broad horizon of different things has its advantages in that like, I can adapt very quickly. It's like if life changes all of a sudden, I can jump into this gear here and
Mhm.
just run with that. So that's definitely been a benefit. But yeah, now it's time to just like, minimize and just kind of go down one or two paths,
Yeah.
I think. There's an awesome saying, and I think it really applies well for EPs. It's called you can be a master of one or a jack of many.
Yeah. Jack of all
And
trades, right?
yeah, like jack of all trades or master of none. And I hear that all the time in the workforce, and like, and I kind of like, wow, that's actually very relevant to EPs. It's like, you're a jack of many things. Like you can be very competent in a lot of things, but you're not really a master in any kind of like individual paths.
Yeah. It's funny because I like my mindset when I was younger was to like be the master of one, mostly for TI significance reason. Like I need to be the best at something, and then the underlying motivation is that people will value you because you're just amazing. But like for me, it's like learning to do the opposite and instead saying like, okay, I could learn 5 different things, or I could spend that time learning one thing. If I spend the same time learning one thing, I'll get at some number 95%. But if I spend time at 5 things, then I might be 85% in each of those things, which is better than being just 95% in one thing. Because like
Yeah.
there's
Okay.
diminishing returns with how much time you put into something, right? If I've already boxed for 10 years, if I box for one more year, I'm not going to be that much better. But if I go and I do something else for a year, then I'm going to have way more progress at that. So I guess there's kind of a balance, right? Like you don't want to be just completely focused on one thing, but at the same time, you don't want to be all over the fucking place either, I guess,
No,
right?
that's
Like,
true. Yeah.
yeah, finding that balance is difficult though. I wouldn't even know
It
how to
is
do that.
definitely a challenge.
But yeah, for sure.
And
So
it
let's
comes, it kind of, sorry,
yeah.
just to finish up that last
Yeah,
bit,
yeah, go
it
ahead.
really comes down to like the day to day, because like if you want to kind of accomplish something, you really need to like be spending small amounts a day just like hammering away at this one
Yeah.
thing. And for an EP, that's like routine, and doing the same thing every day is so like, I need to do something new. But yeah.
Yeah, I know how you feel. The nice thing about that is you don't have to worry about like, okay, well actually maybe it's different for you guys because that's how I've learned to have to do it as well. And for me, that prevents me from getting burnt out because if I really focus and go crazy on something and really put in a lot of time, after a couple weeks, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. But if I do
Yeah.
just a little bit each day, then it becomes just a part of the background, like just kind of flowing through my day, and I don't think about it much. And then a year later, I'm like, oh wow, look what I've built, and I didn't even really try because I'm just doing a little bit each day.
Yeah. Make it a habit. Don't
Yeah.
think about it, just do it.
Yeah, right. But yeah, easier said than done, right?
Exactly.
So, so yeah, let's talk about. Let me go into your past a bit, if you don't mind. Maybe we can talk about kind of
Ooh,
what you were
good
like when you were
information.
young. Yeah, when you were like your purist in your ENFP form. What were some of the struggles you had when you were young? Did you get feedback, like maybe from the tribe or whoever, about like your demon functions or anything like that? Or yeah, what did little Jono look like for the most part?
Yeah, that's interesting. So in school, I was like just the joker, right? So not much different to
Not
now.
a surprise, yeah.
um, but I guess like like looking back, I definitely see the void of Blast
Hmm.
in the sense that like I just more in from a communication sense. Like I didn't really like my parents were always like saying, you don't communicate enough. Like you're not really, you don't tell us what's happening. We never know what's going on in your life.
Hey, I
And
get that.
I'm just like, yeah, you understand. You know what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. You get it. You get
Mhm.
it. Um, and yeah, so it's just like, and when you're a teenager, when you're young, you're just like, just go away. Like,
Yeah.
why do I have to blast? Don't make me blast. It's too hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of problems, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel very fortunate to have like I've got a good pair of parents,
Mhm.
and my I'm pretty sure my dad is SITE. So he really taught me a lot about the ST world. Um, and I don't know, SI and TE, it's like my demon functions. So I feel like, from a young age, I was kind of able to have a fairly stable upbringing, and, I didn't leave too many holes. I wasn't, just creating chaos everywhere and just like leaving a tidal wave of ST to come and get me. Um, in terms of problems, I've not really had any major ones. It's more just like communication. Like people would always say,
Okay.
you don't communicate enough, you're leaving voids, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's tough because it's like, yeah, why is it tough? Because I get the same, like, I get the same feedback, and it's like, do you really care? Like, do you really need to know that? And is it really that a big deal to you? But you realize, okay, it is a big deal for you to like check in and stuff, and really keep that communication up. And that's something I've had to learn that people
Yeah,
value
do we
that. You gotta, yeah,
really need to go over the known information? Like it's happened, it's in the past, let's do something new. Give us some new.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like it's old for me, so
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
interested in talking about it. Almost,
It's so
yeah.
funny. It's just hilarious. That like I'm just thinking about Blast Lasters right now. Like how we struggle to just talk about what's happened in the past. Like
Because yeah,
such a weird concept.
it's like you can do it, but it's like, do we have to? Like, why? Like, it's just
Yeah.
maybe for you it's different. For me, it's like Ti. What like doesn't make sense to talk about this. It's in the past. Who gives a shit? For you, it's like maybe I don't value this. I don't value this old ass information. I don't know.
Exactly. What
Yeah.
are we going to learn from this information?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
That's the
Exactly.
thinking.
Yeah. It's just let's focus on what's ahead and what we're doing now. Not so much what I did before. It's like yeah, I feel that. Could you see like some what your natural strengths were as a kid? Did like was there a point where you realized you were the jokester or like you were the guy that made people laugh? Or did that just you just did that automatically? Or was there one point where you made fun of the principal in class and everyone laughed and you're like, oh wait, I'm actually a funny dude. Like
I think like as you ask that question, like all these memories popped up when I was in high school. I never saw myself as a class clown. Like I never like if someone asked me who's the funniest person in class, like I wouldn't think it would have been me.
okay.
Like no, I'm not that funny. Like what are you talking about? But I remember when I was in senior high school, final year of high school, year 12 in Australia. Um, for English class, we had to do a speech, and I had a really cool teacher. Like he was super cool. For some reason, I decided to, for my speech that you have to give in front of the whole class, I decided to, with a whiteboard marker, draw like a beard on my face and give my speech to the class with a drawn beard on my face. Just because, why not? It's
Yeah,
funny. That's one example. Um, Another example, I guess, was I used to like just love to do crazy hairstyles. Like I just love
yeah.
to like make my hair look ridiculous for just people like, what the hell are you doing? And I used to like make an afro out of my hair. So like I'd like hold my hair upside down, so my hair
Mhm.
would be like, and just hairspray the shit out of it, and just stand out like this. And I dyed it black as well, and I'd just be walking around school with this big black afro. It was very bizarre. I have to I'll send you a photo after this.
Please do.
It's
So is
quite
that
funny.
like for so where does that come from? Is that like are you trying to make other people laugh or is it a self-amusement thing or
I guess it's a bit of both. Like I've just really enjoyed like making people laugh, and just when people have a smile on their face, I don't know, it just brings me happiness, I guess. Um, and self amusement, yeah, I guess so. Maybe I think at the time I was thinking like this is a really cool style, like I want to
okay.
look different, I want to look really like out there type thing. But at the same time, like people thought it was funny, so I guess
So mission
satisfying to
accomplished.
me.
Yeah, this it
Yeah,
works. Yeah, if you think it's funny too, then yeah, it's perfect.
yeah.
So were there any I guess we kind of touched on this a bit. It sounds like you didn't really have like a big struggle with your demons or there wasn't like a big like did you have any like major tidal waves? Was there any like big moments in
Uh,
your life where you realize, oh fuck, I have to blast or oh shit, I need to like SI or like any sort of big formative moments for you when you were young?
yeah, yeah, definitely. In relation to ST. I remember when I was around 21, I've got started, full-time work, had this money coming in. I'm like, hell yeah, I've got money for freedom. I can do whatever I want. I'm going to get a credit card and just buy things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that. I know that situation.
You
Yeah.
know where this is going, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and there was that. And then what else happened? I had a car. Oh yeah, that's right. I had bought a car as well, not with a credit card, thank God. Um, it was a really good car, and I bought it for $200.
Whoa.
Yeah, through it
Sure.
through my cousin. But what I did was with that car, I was driving to college at the time,
Mhm.
and I was turning onto a highway. Cars going like 80 kilometers an hour, and I crashed right into a car. I got sent off the road.
Oh
I was
shit.
fine. I walked out like had a bit of a sore back, but I was fine.
Okay.
But I totaled this brand new like Mazda 3, and I didn't have insurance.
Mm.
So I have credit card debt, and now I've just like
Ah,
totaled this car, which costs like 40 or $30,000,
yeah.
and I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, holy shit! Like, I have a lot of debt to pay right now. What the hell am I gonna do? So yeah, basically, I had to, um, with my father's help, just like, all right, knuckle down. We got to work this out. Like, how much money do I owe everyone? I go this much on the credit card, or this much on the car,
Ah, okay.
all this stuff, and I just had to basically just like create a payment plan, and over like 4 or 5 years, just pay all of this money off. And it was quite a struggle. Like I was like just those like 3 or 4 years of just like doing whatever the hell I wanted, just creating chaos instead of just buying things here and there and crashing a car. The next 5 years of my life was like income was like restricted because I was paying off all these
Five
debts and
years is a long time. Yeah. Shit.
yeah, it was tough. But thankful to say it's all gone now, and I've definitely learned my lesson in how to manage money.
Thank God you crashed that car when you did. Imagine if you crashed it a couple of years later, then you'd be even more into, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a godsend in
Yeah,
a way.
it was like yeah, exactly, a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah.
Risk,
Damn, how
risk my life.
how fucking scary was that for you? Because you had like all of this debt and you have to SI all of this shit, and it's a lot to SI. Like, was it debilitating, or were you just so focused on getting this shit solved that it wasn't an issue? Or
It was super. Like in the first few months, I was struggling. I was like, oh, do I have to pay this every time? Like, I'll just pay it later. I'll just pay the minimum payment on the credit card, and I'll just deal with it later. Because I want to, I want money so I can do things. I don't want to have to pay off this debt. So it took me like a few months of like wrestling with the idea that I had to give money to this debt.
Mhm.
Yeah, it took me ages just to be like, fuck, I just have to live with a minimum income as possible to pay this shit off.
Mhm.
Um, and then hopefully in the future I'll be in a good state. And look, now I'm in a better state. I'm not having this debt anymore. And now,
Doing good. Living in another continent. You gotta
exactly,
do your
yeah.
thing, man. That's so cool. Well, speaking of moving to another complete different fucking continent, was that like was the SI part of that difficult? Getting the visa, getting all that other shit? Like, was that difficult or pretty smooth for the most part?
To be honest, like the entire process overall was like quite simple
Hmm.
from my perspective.
Okay.
I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about this. Like, I've talked to some IJs, and they're like, "Holy shit, dude! How did you do it? How did you go to another country? What about this? Like, what about this? What about this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just kind of just started the process, and like, oh yeah, this problem came up, and I just looked at it. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I need to call this embassy. I need to figure out if I'm allowed into the country." Bear in mind, like, this also happened during Corona, so
Mhm. Yeah, I remember you telling me
restrictions on
about
flight.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like restrictions were like really high. Like the chances that I could get out of Australia were high. The chances that I could get into the Netherlands were really low. Sorry, chances of getting out of Australia were low. Chances of
Yeah.
getting into the Netherlands were
Oh,
low.
okay.
And I was just like, well, I just gotta just make the calls, call the people, figure out how I can get there, find a way. And overall, like it was quite simple. I got here. So I came to this country with a few safeguards in place. Like I had already spoken with a company that were going to sponsor me for a visa.
Hmm.
So that was like the most important safeguard because I was like, well, if I can get a visa, then I can basically stay here for as long as I want.
Yeah.
But I got here, and then 2 weeks later, I called them, and they said, "Look, sorry, we can't hire anymore because Corona happened, and we've got no money." And I was like, "Oh shit, what am I gonna do?" So, Plan B, did a partner visa instead. We got the ball rolling with that. A few hiccups along the way, but in a nutshell, like, yes, there were problems, but we managed to basically flatten them out quite easily. So
That's badass, man. Because yeah, I mean, you go into another country in general is not the easiest thing, but then to have to do it with Corona and then you're not getting your job and stuff, that's enough to break most people. I think if I had immigrated in that situation, I don't know what would have happened to me. But like for
yeah,
me, also, it wasn't like. But to be fair, Germany makes it really easy to move here. Like very they're not as strict as you would think. So Germany's known as a very rule-based place. You got to follow the rules. But like they're not really enforced that well. Like they pretty much welcomed me right in. I didn't was even missing some documents. They're like, "Oh, it's fine. Just email them us later." Like, really, for a visa, you're just having me email you later? What the fuck? Like, okay,
wow,
yeah. And like I even worked for like almost a month before I even had the visa. So and that was still fine. So it was like, yeah, it was surprisingly easy. Now going to the U.S., I'm sure that really is like a mess and a pain.
that is definitely a chaos,
Yeah, we don't
chaos
make it
mining
easy
for
for
sure.
you. That's for sure. Even like if you come into customs in the U.S., it's like a yeah. Maybe you've been around there a bit, but like it's a much more strict like thing that sometimes takes over an hour. Whereas in like other countries or like England or something, you just scan your passport and whatever, and you're in. In the U.S., there's all this shit you have to do. It's like we're so scared of foreigners for some reason, you know?
Yeah, Australia is quite similar actually.
Is
It's
it?
very similar. Yeah, it's very hard to get a visa in Australia. A lot of hoops you got to jump through. You got to like work on a farm for like 6 months or
What the
something.
fuck, really?
Yeah, on a work visa, you got to So if you're doing a working holiday visa, you can work for 1 year, do whatever you want, work, and then yeah. If you want to stay for a second year, you got to work 6 months on a farm.
Mm.
And a lot of people say it's really intense work. Like it's like long days. It's very like physically draining, and you're in, if it's in summer, like it's super hot. So
God, it
yeah, it's
sounds
not great.
awful. Like, so I know someone who had to go through that, and she had to work in a banana packing plant for I don't know how
Oh,
long.
really?
She had some options of what she could do, and it's like banana plant. It sounds okay. It was the worst fucking thing ever for her. It was the most horrible job she's ever had.
Oh,
Just
wow.
packing fucking bananas. It was like soul crushing. Damn,
Jeez.
no. Yeah, yeah. Immigrating to Australia doesn't sound like the easiest thing. They make it easy
No.
for you, I think, in Europe in general.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's much more chill. I don't know why exactly, but maybe they need people. Maybe it's, I don't know. But yeah, thank God though, right? Like, so like this is off topic, but how are you liking it over here? Has it been everything you hoped? Has it been an adventure? Yeah, how's that going?
Yeah, it's been awesome. So I've been to the Netherlands like at least 4 or 5 times
Mhm.
over the last 5 years. So I've got a very good impression of the country. But I love it. Like I love the lifestyle here. It seems to be like, and it's probably similar in Germany as well. Like a lot of people say that Germans are, very strict, very rule based, very, you must do this type thing. But and Dutchies are seen in a similar way, probably not as intense. But I just when I'm here, like I just get the feeling things are much more chill. Like people are really nice and friendly. I love the bike culture here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many bike pathways the whole country. You look outside your window, and you can just like if you looked outside your window at the street for like 20 minutes, you'd be able to count like 100 bikes. There's just bikes
Zoom, zoom, zoom,
going
zoom.
past all the time, and that's really like I like that the country has really like enforced, not really enforced, but like given that availability. Like they're really conscious of the environment. They're encouraging people to get out on a bike. People
They
like
have shit together for sure. Yeah.
yeah. If you want to go down to the store and get some groceries or something, jump on a bike. Don't jump in a car. It's gonna make you fat.
Yeah.
Jump on a bike, get some exercise, get some milk, grab some bread, come back home. It's it's good. And like food here is actually really good as well. Like the cheese in the
I've heard
Netherlands
the
is
opposite. Is it good to hear? I've heard people, at least in
really
Germany, like, oh, we hate Dutch food. Or yeah, it's
well. Okay, Dutch cuisine is not amazing. Like
okay.
you've got it's very potato based. It's potato, meatballs, and maybe some kind of like kale or something. Very simple.
Hmm.
But the good thing about the Netherlands is they have a lot of Indonesian influence in the country
Okay.
because
I wouldn't have guessed
400
that.
years 400 years ago they traveled to Indonesia and back to like
Hmm.
on a spice trading. Like they went to Indonesia, they got spices, they brought it back to the country. So there's a heavy Indonesian influence,
Hmm.
and Indonesian food is so good. It's
Okay.
like Indian curry,
Hmm.
but with a bit of a twist. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just so good. It's spicy, it's tasty, it's amazing.
Yeah, sounds good. No, I haven't tried it yet, but I like Indian food, so it'd probably be a good fit.
Yeah,
I
nice.
think, yeah.
I love Indian food as well. Spicy.
Yeah, like Dutch culture is great. I could like also see myself living there as well. Has some similarities with German culture. Don't tell anyone from the
Definitely.
Netherlands that, but there's definitely they call them in Germany they call them Dutch people funny Germans or swamp Germans. That's like the two, the two.
Funny Germans
Yeah, or swamp
or
German.
swamp Germans.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
a bit
Okay,
offensive, I
it's good
think.
to know. Very good to know. I understand the swamp reference because like the Netherlands is basically like underwater. So
Yeah. Well, the funny reference is
country.
because Germans don't really have the biggest sense of humor, and some of that's true, I have to admit. But the Dutch people have a very big sense of humor, I feel like.
Okay, interesting. We know what's funny about Germans is like, especially in the Netherlands, like I because Germany doesn't have much beaches.
Hmm.
Germans are always traveling to the Netherlands to go to the beach. So like, and we live right pretty close to the beach. So we like, and we live on the main road. So we're always seeing like German cars coming past. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, they invade on our German holidays here. They invade the Netherlands because, or even on if you live in like a border town, Sundays everything's closed here, but I think in the Netherlands it's not. So all the Germans invade these little border towns, and you have all these pissed off Dutch people like, oh, the fucking Germans are here again, buying all our cheese and stuff. Like,
That's interesting.
yeah, for sure.
Have you learned German at all?
Yeah. I'm around B2 or so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. I'm doing B1 at the moment in Dutch.
That's whoa! You just moved there, like super quick. B1 is a good level, like yeah.
Yeah, I did two intensive courses. So I started on like
Oh shit!
A0,
You're not fucking
went
around.
to all the way to A2, and now I'm doing like a really that's a slower course, like once a week. It's B1, but I'm thinking of doing. Here's me being an EP of doing two courses at the same time, doing another intensive B1 course
Mhm.
and also the slow B1 course just to like really boost my language.
There you go,
But
man.
yeah, apparently German and Dutch is actually quite similar.
It is, yeah. They're the some of the sounds are similar, not all of them. The grammar is the main difference, I think. Even though they're both in the Germanic
Really?
family tree, yeah, the German grammar is a nightmare. It's like you have like nine different articles that you can use for the
Oh yeah, that's
depends
the
on the
pure the
noun, and
articles.
all these
Yeah,
cases. There's like I think four cases, and I think in English we have like two, like accusative and normative, I guess. And it's yeah, it's a nightmare. But other than the grammar, it's actually yeah fairly similar, and yeah, there's a lot of words in common as well. Yeah, for sure. So
definitely.
yeah, I don't recommend anyone learn German. It's kind of a fucking nightmare, but yeah.
That is good, yeah.
That's good. I like that you are learning German. Welcome to our country. It feels like but it feels like it's the Germans are so accommodating with English that I feel bad for not learning German because they're always willing to speak English with you, blah blah blah. And I feel like if you're in somebody's country, even if the people speak English, you should try to at least learn their own language. So
No, I definitely feel the same.
really,
Yeah.
yeah,
Dutch is a very good English as well, but yeah, I have the same mentality.
that's good. There's a lot of not to pick on. Well, I guess I can pick on you guys a bit, but there's a lot of Australians here that do know they've been here 10 years and they can order a tuna, and that's about it. Americans too, though. To be fair, like, if you're an English speaker here, you just never learn German. It's just like it's kind of
Wow.
like it makes me roll my eyes a bit. It's like, come on, guys! Like they welcomed you in
Yeah,
their country. They've learned English to help you out. The least you can do is meet them halfway and learn.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, well, we've gotten super off topic, which is, as predicted, I think. So
Yeah.
where the hell were we? Okay, we were talking about your 20s. You had the breakdown with the SI stuff, and that was a major formative point where you kind of got your shit together and you started like not spending like crazy and all this stuff like that. So what are you doing now? Like, what are some of the things that you're doing to work on your blast, to work on SI, TE? What are the yeah? Do you have any
Nice.
sort of routine for that?
Yeah. So, um, there's a. I'm sure you've heard of this GTD.
Oh yeah, yeah, that shit's badass. Yeah, I love GTD. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So David Allen, who
Mm-hmm.
has been typed by Dave and Shan because well, he's on their radar.
Mm-hmm.
He's the author of a book called Getting Things Done, and this book was recommended to me by my type twin, Peter Bond Hansen.
Oh, I know him. Yeah, cool dude.
From
Yeah, yeah.
he's from Denmark.
Yep.
I almost said Sweden. He would have got
You know,
annoyed.
he would have been mad. Yeah,
He's from Denmark. I know he's Danish. He's definitely Danish.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like that book has definitely revolutionized my life.
Mm.
Um, I think as an EP, like every EP needs everyone needs to read this book, but EPs especially, like the way that David Allen has created this theoretical system, which is more just a way of thinking than
Mm.
anything, to basically be able to break tasks down into bite-sized pieces, organize them in a very efficient, systemized way, and then to just be able to get things done in such a seamless way in order to like free your mind of like, oh my gosh, do I have to do this thing? What am I doing today? I got all these things I need to do. Like it's amazing, and it's
Mm.
revolutionized my life. So I've been reading that book, kind of rereading the book. I read it a few years ago, but I'm reading it again and actually trying to fully implement that into my life at the moment. Um, right now, like I'm kind of lucky in the sense that I have a lot of free time. Um, I'm kind of waiting for a job to eventuate, which will happen in a few weeks. But
Mm.
so I've been spending most of my time just really like trying to like get this GTD system like in my brain and like force my brain to think like David Allen. He's
Okay.
basically teaching me how to TISI,
Ah, cool. Yeah.
which is
Okay.
his saviors, right? I think he's like, is this
Yeah, and
he's
I.
TINI? Okay. Well, he's TIOEOY, whatever. Yeah, I'm basically like trying to get myself in the way of just like being able to process tasks as they come up. So then, when I am ready to start working and, like, get a house and, get back into, being an adult, that I'll be able to just really process things well and systemize everything, not leave any holes or leave any chaos behind. That's one thing. What else am I doing? I was learning Dutch. Like I did a few Dutch courses, like intense Dutch courses. But right now, I'm actually really focusing on learning piano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like I've been into music my whole life. My parents sent me to like a Saturday music schools when I was young. I did music all throughout high school, all the way to like senior year. And I've been in a band. So like I've always been around music. I've always been in music. But primarily I've always just played the drums.
Okay.
And I've kind of always wanted to just be able to write music.
Mm.
And I mean, you can write drum beats and stuff, but you can't really write melodies and chord progressions and stuff like that. So
Right.
right now I'm learning piano. I'm spending like a few hours a day just like going through this course that
You
I
out?
that I
Okay.
purchased. Yeah. And I'm just trying to really like get my skills to a level where I can, read music well. I can understand the chords, chord progressions, to then eventually just be able to record and like, produce some music. So it's kind of been a dream of mine for a while. And like throughout life, I've kind of like, got distracted by things. I've wanted to get in other things. I wanted to get into psychology and study psychology and really progress a future in that. But I've kind of always come back to like, I've spent my whole life around music. So the most logical direction for me to head is in a music direction, because I feel like I've had so much experience. Why don't I just leverage all of those years of knowledge and just shoot
That sounds
myself
very
in the foot?
TI, what you just said there. Yeah, it makes sense
Really?
if you go with, yeah, I think so. You're not doing
Wow.
it because you like it. Well,
Okay.
maybe you like it too, but you're like, well, it
Well,
makes
yeah, no,
sense here, right?
I definitely like it, but for me, it was a very logical decision.
Mm.
I'm like, it just makes logical sense. Like, I just need to focus my time in music. So, yeah, I hope in the next 10 years or so to be able to like compose some music. My dream is to be able to compose a score for a movie, or a
Okay.
video game or
That would be
something. Like
sick. Yeah, yeah.
I love soundtracks. I love like music in movies, and yeah, it's a dream for me to be able to work in that. So
Did you watch Tenet by chance?
Oh, dude, don't get me started. We're gonna go
The
on a rabbit
music on
hole.
Tenet, though, right? Holy
Oh my
shit!
gosh,
It was
dude.
so crazy.
Okay, I have been listening to the soundtrack every day,
So
at
good.
least 2 times a day, for the past 3 weeks.
I know. It's
I'm
fucking
obsessed.
otherworldly, man. It's so good, man. Like it's the
I
best music I've ever heard in a movie, I think for me. It's so good.
right?
Yeah.
And like I can't even explain why it's so good because like when I'm analyzing it critically, like it sounds so simple. Like it's just, it's a lot
Yeah.
of digital beats, it's a few layers of things, but like altogether it's just like mind-blowingly good.
The vibe it creates and the way that it's like, even though it's simple, the way they do it is not like a standard way. I feel like a lot of it's like, oh, I would never guess somebody would make a film score with these sounds. This is crazy. And like even though it was fairly simple, I feel like the sounds
Yeah.
themselves were very intricate as well. Even though there wasn't a lot of elements or a lot of crazy stuff playing, the ones that were, I was thinking like, how did he make this? Like this is, yeah, I would like to get a look at that
Yeah.
sound design somewhere because it
Dude,
just, it
I've
blew me away.
I've been thinking the exact same thing this past few weeks. I've just been how did he make this? How did he create this?
Mhm.
Yeah, Ludwig Göransson is an incredible composer. He's done a lot of other things as well. Like he's done the Mandalorian soundtrack.
Oh, that's also
Um,
really good. Yeah, and a great show.
yeah,
Yeah.
he did what else? He did the Black Panther, which
Okay.
actually won. He won some Grammys, I think, for that album.
Nice.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's from Sweden, so there's something in that country which just
Something in the
produces
water
some.
there. They could
Yeah,
make
something in the water. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, Tenet, dude, I've seen it twice already, and I'm debating if I go to the cinemas again and watch it a third time
Okay, why not? Yeah.
because
Okay,
yeah,
did you get it the first time? Like when you watched it, were you able to keep up?
no. So I watched it with my girlfriend,
Hmm.
and for you, this might be interesting. So in the Netherlands, the movie's in English, but
Hmm.
they have Dutch subtitles.
Okay.
So she was able to hear and be able to pick up the stuff in Dutch. What I struggle with is, and I read some of the reviews, is that the movie actually is a little bit too like the sound is a bit too loud. Sometimes you can't actually hear what
Yeah.
they're saying.
It's not mixed very well with the them talking. Like there's like way too much
Yeah,
bass and you're like, it sounds muffled. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So the first time I didn't really understand what was going on, but my girlfriend, like we both had a conversation about it. We kind of like pieced things together, worked out a bit. But the second time I watched it, I was like, okay, yeah, that's why that. Yep, all right, okay, now he's here. Yep, okay, it's making a bit more sense now.
Mhm. Had no
What about
idea what
you?
the fuck that movie was about. I couldn't even spoil it for somebody. That's how much
Really?
like least amount I knew. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Because I like I'd be watching it, I would space out during part of it, and then it would end up in some other thing. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have spaced out. Now I have no idea where we're at.
Yeah,
And coupled with the fact that you couldn't understand what they were saying sometimes, I was just like, because like in the beginning when they had the bullets moving backwards and all this stuff, and I was like trying to process that in my mind, how that would work, what would create that, what would that mean?
yeah,
And while
yeah,
that's
yeah,
happening, they're like talking about stuff and doing all this other, and I'm like, oh wait, fuck, where are we?
yeah. And they're
Like,
talking about like entropy and like reverse reverse entropy and like wow, okay, there's
a
too
lot of
many
crazy.
concepts going on at
Yeah,
once.
I was like, man, I
Yeah.
got to watch this a couple times, but like the music was great, the cinema, like the visual production of it was super amazing.
Yes.
Like everything was, but man, that plot was hard to follow. I had to watch it again, probably a couple times to really get it.
Yeah.
The movie made me feel a bit stupid. I have to admit, I was just like, am I like,
Yeah.
I literally thought, is my brain getting worse? Like I've never not been able to follow a movie
Am I
like.
getting old? How old am I? Am I
Yeah,
getting too
I
old?
had a real moment. I was like, "Fuck!" And so I asked, yeah, I asked the girl I was dating, like, "Okay, did you understand?" And she's like, "No, I had no fucking clue." And I was like, "Okay." And I read the reviews. Oh, I have no fucking clue either. Okay, great. I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's definitely
yeah,
a bit of a mind fuck.
yeah.
But
So like, yeah, super crazy film, but really, really amazing. I love all of Christopher Nolan's stuff. Like, I've never
yeah,
seen
he's
bad
really
from him.
good.
I think it's all been really good. I wanted to go back to something or to highlight or to express a pattern I think I've been seeing, at least in myself, and I wonder if this might ring true for you as well. So, like when you were talking about continuing music, for me that felt like a TI decision. Maybe it's not. The funny thing is, when I have general like FI decision, when something feels right, those usually end up being the best decisions. Those usually almost never go wrong. Like for some reason, whenever I like the FI bubbles up to the surface, how small it is, and I rely on that, shit just works out. Like this move to Germany, total FI decision. I just like I like it here. This is great. I feel good about this. I'm just gonna do it. And it's
Wow.
been the best decision I've ever made. And there's been so many other decisions like that. So I wonder for you, have you had some like TI sort of decisions in your life, or is this something maybe you've processed before or noticed in yourself using that
Yeah,
other?
that's a very good question. So I've never really thought like TI is a very interesting function for me. And if we're going to talk about TI, from my perspective, it's seen as like the most inferior function for me.
Yeah, like the polar function,
Um,
I think, for you guys,
yeah, I
right?
mean, if you buy into that theory, I mean, I don't know if it's true,
Yeah,
but
me either.
it
I think
seems
so.
as though TI is like just I, I don't understand. I don't
Mhm.
understand it.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I've never actually really like processed myself using TI at all.
Mhm.
Um, but I can answer it from an FI perspective.
Okay.
I yeah, I'm definitely drawn, and I tend to make decisions based off FI. Like if something feels right,
Mhm.
I'll usually just like, yeah, okay, I'm all in. I'm gonna go with this. But I think for me, it's probably not always the wisest choice because like I can like I'm people have always said I'm very easily excitable. And I
Okay.
think my FI can get very like, ooh, that's cool. Ooh, that's
Ah, yeah,
very
yeah.
quickly.
Mhm.
And it can sometimes, and here, this is where the demon like thinking comes in. It's like, I haven't logically processed this decision.
Yeah.
Therefore, like, it's probably going to not always be a great decision. Whereas maybe for you, like, okay, you feel good, but then there's an element of you that's kind of like logically processing it as well, thinking, okay, this is going to be good.
It's kind of like this is going to sound weird, especially to someone with FI, but like if it makes sense to do it, then I feel good about it. So the feelings come second. So it's like, well, this logical makes sense for me to do this. Oh, I like it. Let's do it. So
Hmm.
it's not. I still have F5 moments where I just like something. There's no reasons behind it, but it doesn't happen too often. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing for me to learn, or just a good process for me to consider before I do make decisions.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's. I think it's if you can use both deciders, like why not? Like you should like if you do something just out of TI, like it's just logical, and you just always do that, then you're just a fucking robot. Like you know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
don't you do something you like that excites you or whatever, and don't be not just oh it's logical therefore it excites me. It kind of does, right? But like it's more
Yeah.
like I feel something here and I shouldn't ignore that and be like, oh, it's just a feeling. It doesn't mean anything. I gotta,
Yeah.
like it.
I get it.
But it's never led me wrong when it does show up. So the FI definitely, and I feel like my theory is that FI is actually better at making more complex decisions because I feel like the FI is something that's more in deep into your subconscious. Whereas TI is more in the frontal lobe. It's more like
Yeah.
calculating
Okay.
a couple of variables, right? Your frontal lobe can only calculate 3 or 4 variables at a time. But think about all the variables when you catch a football. There's a million different variables, like the speed, the air, the specific muscles that have to move, all that stuff. But yet you catch the ball.
Yeah.
That's your
True.
subconscious,
Yeah.
right? And so I think the FI is more in the subconscious. So your FI is going to be able to more grasp and possibly make a decision that's a more complex, difficult decision. One that you can't TI and logic out all the different variables. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
So
guess
in a
you could
way,
say it's. I guess you could say it's kind of like the intuition of the sensory, in a way. It's kind of like just. It doesn't know the specific details. It's
mhm.
just kind of making like a gut feel type thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's some crossover also, I guess, with intuition
Yeah.
with that example as well, right? So it's like, yeah, it's interesting. So I've been trying to connect with that more to my own FI because I think a lot of TI users or maybe T users in general kind of shit on like doing things because of your feelings, but like really your feelings are pretty sophisticated. Like usually like you ever had a bad feeling about somebody and then it turns out they were some like total shit bag. You don't know why you thought
Yeah.
they were bad, but
Yeah. Exactly.
apparently there's something going on that's more sophisticated than the part of your brain that you're aware of, right? So it's like
Yeah.
so I've been trying to incorporate that more, I think, in my
That's
life.
cool.
It's more beneficial, yeah. Yeah, why not do all the functions, That's
Yeah.
why do you stop it
Exactly.
for, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So like so in general, like okay, this is kind of switching back to the theme, I guess, but like
Yeah. Sure.
So how has OP helped you? Like, what's your OP journey been like? Has it been like life changing? Has it been like, oh, it's kind of helpful, or has it completely flipped your world upside down? What's it been like for you?
Yeah, it's definitely been the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Just well, I don't really see it as a decision. It's just kind of something that I was interested in. I'm
Mhm.
like, cool, I'm gonna learn this, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, wow, okay, it's like peeled my eyes back and be like, holy shit, this is who you are. This is the reason why uh, you are who you are today. This is the reason why
Mhm.
you've created all these tidal waves in the past. So it's definitely been eye opening. The first 2 weeks when I was typed, I was like kind of just really debating it, thinking, what's going on? Like, I don't really understand this. And it kind of like over a few weeks, it was like, it just made more sense. So in a nutshell, it's been great. Like it's really helped me navigate forwards. And now every time I'm doing something, like I'm straight away thinking like, okay, is this just me like in autopilot doing my saviors? Should I be using my demons right now to solve
Mhm.
this thing?
Yeah.
So it's really changed the way I think, and I think that is probably been the most beneficial part that um, that's going to only pay dividends in the future. Like it's changed the way I think, and now moving forwards the next 5, 10 years, like it's just going to be a better person, I believe.
Awesome. So it's like, yeah, it sounds like it solidified the patterns in your own life and really kind of explained why you've done the things that you've done and like why certain undesirable results maybe are happening as well. Do you feel like it? Have you been using it to understand people better as well, or is that something that maybe was already not such a priority with your double decided? Maybe that's something that comes easier. Because that's
Yeah,
kind of what I use
geez.
it for. It's mostly for
Yeah,
understanding others. That's been the big thing for me.
yeah, it's definitely helped me understand people for sure.
Mm.
And just, I just subconsciously type people now all the time.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, why is this person doing this? It must be because he's demon T, or he's like S savior or something. I just, and it helps, like I am able to see like certain recurring patterns in people, and it helps me approach people differently, and it helps me helping people differently as well.
Okay.
So it's great.
Yeah. It's like you can help people not according to what you think they need, aka what you need, but what you think their type
Yeah,
needs. And
yeah,
yeah.
and just how I approach people as well. Like sometimes, I'm maybe afraid to approach a certain person
Mhm.
because of the way that I've uh, biasly thought that they will respond. But if I can use type to be like, hey, no, they probably won't respond this way if you just be upfront and honest with them, and then most of the time that ends up being right anyway. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Yeah,
great.
cool. Yeah, it's been mind blowing for me too in so many different ways. I think I don't know. How do you see the future? Do you think this will end up being like a popular? Do you think it'll ever be as popular as Myers Briggs?
Yeah, I think it will. It's just going to take a real long time before it happens. Um, whether that happens in our lifetime or not, I'm sure it
Yeah,
will. I'm sure it will. Maybe like another 20 years or so.
yeah,
But it really just depends on Dave and Shen, like how far they're able to push it.
mm,
Um, I know there's a number of people in the community that are working on side projects off of OP and his
yeah,
system. So I think, now that I've just said that, I actually think now, regardless of Dave and Shen, like this will just grow.
somebody's
Like there's
gonna take
people
it
that are
with it,
like
right?
even us right now, we're talking about stuff, you know, with underlying OP
Hmm.
uh, as a subject. So, people are going to see this one day and be like, "Oh, what is this thing?" And they're going to find it and like, yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy to
I
think.
don't think it'll die. And
Yeah,
it's
could
just
you?
it's more accurate than MBTI. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, MBTI didn't do anything for me. Like when I learned it, it was like I don't know. I was just really doubtful of it. Like, well,
yeah,
like I could, I look at these type descriptions. Like, well, I could identify with most of these. Like these are kind of bland in general, and and it's just like, yeah, it was interesting though. I thought like the typology stuff was super cool, and it was cool that people have different types and different ways of thinking. But like you couldn't really trust the information. I feel like, but with this has
yeah,
been like, even if the information is not the most like ST clear, like you can at least see the patterns in people and see like a lot of consistency with it and being able to identify
exactly,
things. And even if
exactly.
it ends up being like mostly not true, it's helped me so many times over, they don't even care if it's like really true or not. If it's done this, then I'm cool with it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the mentality.
Judge it by its effectiveness, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Um, cool. I think we covered most of the stuff. We kind of went through your timeline and we talked about how OP's helped you, and we sidetracked a little bit. But yeah, it's been an
Awesome,
amazing
dude.
interview.
It's a blast,
Thanks
Lance.
again so much for doing it. It was really cool to have you on. I was excited to have
No
you.
problem.
And anything you'd like to say, or or maybe promote your channel, or anything to leave us with?
Um, yeah, I mean, you can look at my channel. There's not much on it at the moment. Hopefully, I'll have some content coming out in the next X number of
Mm.
time. Um, no, really, just thank you for doing this. It's really cool. I really hope you're able to get some more people on the show and um, learn from more different types, and maybe you can do a few different people at once, or have a group conversation or
Yeah,
something.
possibly. Sure. Have like a theme or a topic or something. Yeah, that might be something to
Yeah,
play with for sure. Yeah.
get some MFs together, get some like double feminines together. Oh, that's one thing I want to say about OP. I've
Yeah.
noticed like a pattern. It's that like I feel like people that are of the same modalities seem to like have a better click, regardless of type.
Mm.
Like type, okay, type can play some kind of part. Like EPs and IJs really get along, whatever.
Yeah.
But similar modalities get along pretty well. I found,
Yeah, you're right, actually.
regardless of type,
I think
regardless of type.
most of my friends in the community are MF, actually.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. And I think
Looking back,
they also said something similar, where they said that if you're the same modality, you tend to click. If you're the opposite modality, you tend to be like attracted to each other, but you kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
a little bit. And yeah, so yeah, I think there's something to that as well. I think also that part of OP is for me is really interesting and something that really hasn't been explored too much yet. Is kind of like, okay, we know what this type does and what goes on with them, what their perspective is, and we know this type. But like, how do these types work together? Like, how does that look like? And are there types that are more compatible than others? Like, what are some normal conflicts they run into?
yeah, yeah,
It's like type dynamics is something to still be explored, I think, within OP.
yeah. I know Harry. Just to finish up, like Harry Goldberg. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, yeah, I
He's
do.
yeah, he's actually working on stuff like that, like
Oh,
looking at
okay.
type dynamics and like
Mhm.
comparing different types together. He does it more for relationships,
Okay.
but he's looking into that element of OP, which is really quite interesting.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, well, somebody's doing research on it. We opened a new group too. I don't know if you've joined it, but there's a Facebook group now for like OP relationships and dating and stuff like that. Rose
Oh,
just
cool.
opened it up. I can send you an invite if you like. I think
Yeah, sure.
I'm one of the admins. Yeah, if
Yeah, flick it to me.
you're interested.
Cool,
Cool.
man. Thanks so much. This was
Yeah.
great.
It was great having you on, man. Thanks again. And
Thanks, man.
thanks, guys, for watching. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.